We'll discuss how optimal strategy for the board game expeditions changes when you add the gears of corruption. So the opening remains the same. I just want to grab some workers right away. Now you start the game with a Grande worker, which acts as a worker of any color, so it's less important to gather workers early in the game. Even so, you'd like to grab a couple workers, right? All things being equal, I'd still like to use my first action to gather a worker. If my character grants a worker that matches my companion, the best play might be to move and gather a worker that matches my character, and then use it to play my character and gather a third worker. With a worker for each of my companion and my character and a worker who can be played with whatever card I get next, I'm pretty much done gathering workers in a single turn. Now I can either head north to explore or I can gather some cards, depending on what cards are showing. So I guess it's really bad if the worker sites are all blocked up, isn't it? I felt that way in the original game, but it's no big deal anymore. If I can't get a worker I like, I'll just explore and play either my character or my companion, depending on what I find up there. After all, I have my Grande worker. Wait a second. Why would you explore on the first turn? Don't you need to gather resources first? The new mech cards give you some power and guile to start. Each map token has a small bonus on the back, and I have a worker. Taken together, exploring on the first turn might work out pretty well. With luck, I might even vanquish on the first turn. Some of these gather actions and bonuses aren't really gonna help much on the first turn. True, you might get unlucky, but the majority of central gather actions and map token bonuses are helpful. The most common map tokens give you a card. Almost any card is helpful early game. Imagine having a character who grants a card. In your first explore action, you might get a card from your map token, play your character to get a second card, and gather for the third. You've got 5 cards and a map token after a single turn. A player who only picked up a couple workers will feel gypped. I see what you're saying. Between the bonuses on the map tokens, your Grande worker, and starting resources, early explore actions have become a lot more attractive. I guess everyone will rush to explore. Yes, I think everyone will rush to explore, which will solve another problem. See, in the past, players might hang out in the south gathering workers and cards for several turns. Now they must go north or they'll fall behind. So if there's a location in the south you really need, your opponents are far less likely to camp out on it. I see, so if I don't get a worker on my first turn or two, I can just hop down later and get one. Maybe I should just forget about the workers on my first turn and go explore. Perhaps it isn't clear anymore. Exploring on your first turn is a higher risk and potentially higher reward option. I tend to like a sure thing, so I'll still gather a worker on my first turn, especially if I can get 2, and eliminate the need to gather workers again. So you'd never go for 7 workers now. No, sometimes workers just fall into your lap, and the goal is easier now because your Grande worker counts. Still, the rewards of exploring are bigger than ever. Getting 5 map tokens is the clear default. Now that I think about it, there are only 14 map tokens on the board, and this expansion allows for 6 players. That's less than 3 map tokens apiece. Getting 5 map tokens is gonna be rough. Agreed, now that everyone is extra motivated to explore, it will only increase the value of other ways to grab a map token. Ultimately, in a 4 to 6 player game, there's almost no way everyone will score map tokens. You might have to make sacrifices like skipping the extra workers and taking suboptimal play actions to get to 5 map tokens. That's the counterbalance. Once everyone readjusts to explore earlier, it'll be harder to score glory that way. All the same, getting a bonus, discovering a new site, thinking about a vanquish action, getting a new gather action, it's a lot more fun than picking up a worker or gathering a card. It is. The faster, more balanced start using gears of corruption makes the game better. There are new items in the deck, and each of these items offers 5 points. None of the old items offered 5 points. I guess items are more competitive with meteors now. With some luck, 4 meteorites score about 20 points. With these new cards, the items offer an average of 3.4 points each, or about 14 points for 4. By selecting higher scoring items, we should be able to get 16 or more points from items. Further, there are now 30 items in the deck and only 25 meteorites. So competition to grab 4 meteorites will be worse than ever, especially at higher player counts. Overall, items are a more attractive glory category with the expansion. I agree, all these cards look pretty good. These all look like premium cards that might change your strategy. Upgrading items got an upgrade. I also noticed that we added new Vanquish tokens to the bag. What does that do? The new Vanquish tokens are valued 2, and there are 6 of them. The 36 tokens valued 3 to 5 remain. The impact of these new tokens is subtle. Some quick and dirty statistics suggest that the number of Vanquish tokens on the board will increase from 28 to 30. However, the total amount of power and guile needed to vanquish at a certain site will remain about the same. Well, if there are more tokens on the board, but it takes about the same amount of total power and guile, I guess it's easier to get Vanquish tokens now. Yes, but the effect is subtle. The much bigger change is the Corrupted Mech Module. Vanquish this mech for cards that count as Vanquish tokens for most purposes. Because you can take as many cards as you can afford in a single Vanquish action, the Corrupted Mech increases both the speed and the ease of acquiring Vanquish tokens and scoring the 7 Vanquish token goal. On average, these cards are a lot cheaper than a Vanquish token. Why would anyone Vanquish on a location anymore? 2 reasons. When you Vanquish on a site, you can still use your companion to use the gather action there. Secondly, when this mech comes out, I'd expect your opponents to rush to vanquish it. In fact, it might be worth piling up some power and guile in anticipation of the Corrupted Mech's arrival so that you can get some cards. In a 6-player game, I'd expect the Corrupted Mech to run out of cards and be removed pretty quickly. In a 2 or 3-player game, it might hang out. Either way, it's a great source of corruption for the 7 corruption goal. The Corrupted Mech is described as a module in the rules. Do you like to use it? It depends. There's about 30 corruption tiles on the board. With 6 players, that's 5 corruption tiles each. Clearly there's a shortage if everyone's going for the 7 corruption glory category. The Corrupted Mech makes sure there's enough corruption for everyone, and it's good fun. At lower player counts, I'm not so sure. I've seen good players take 5 or 6 corruption cards off the mech in a single turn, which makes the 7 corruption glory category almost too easy. The 20 corruption tile becomes too expensive because you can use 10 combined power and guile to get so many cards here. Further, there may be a lot of corruption left on the board at the end of the game because no one has any particular reason to vanquish there. I guess this is why the Corrupted Mech is a module. It makes sense at higher player counts. At lower player counts, it kind of depends on how you want the game to play. We have new mechs and new characters to consider. The new mechs both use map tokens to either ignore corruption or to take an action whenever you refresh. I particularly like Scarecrow. You might use it to repeat an action that you need to do multiple times, like meld or upgrade. Yeah, I remember that one. I move in and vanquish to meld. Then I gather to meld. Then I gather on my way out and meld again. Now I could refresh on the second turn and still meld. You know, these mechs look like another reason someone might want map tokens, which just increases the attractiveness of exploring early. What about the new characters? Meet Bjorn and Mox. I guess you'll need some extra cards and workers early so that you can use Mox's ability without constantly needing to refresh. Note that Mox doesn't do anything but provide a core value when you activate him to activate another play action. You might want a refresh card too. Zehra allows you to bury cards your opponents might want, while effectively increasing her own core value. While Kar might let you pick up a card you've already seen, but mostly at lower player counts. At higher player counts, I guess the top card of the deck will change too often. Freya and Loki also let you bury cards your opponents might need. If you're playing items against a bunch of opponents who are competing for Meteorites, that might be pretty useful, and Loki gives you a few points along the way, which isn't a bad thing. Baaliahon and Zephon are very different from the others. You need purple workers, so you might as well explore in the first turn. Baaliahon picks up corruption without spending power or guile, so I guess you'll be stacking up power and guile in the early game. You can spend 1 power and 1 guile to meld Meteorites. You only get 1 corruption token each time you play, so it's a slow path to 7 tokens. Zephon's first ability is powerful or useless. It just depends on what cards are up. Get a card that can vanquish, as you should have extra power and guile to spend. Scoring quests and Meteorites is a no-brainer. You might want to score 7 corruption tokens before you start burning them to tuck quests. Or you might skip the 7 corruption category in favor of cards, map tokens, or the 20 corruption tile. Well, I guess that's about it. I feel like we're a little late with this video. The board game space moves pretty fast these days. We had requests for this video in the comments. And there's a good game here, especially with the expansion. Yeah, I don't think we'll play without the expansion going forward. It just makes the start of the game so much better. What do you want to do next? Actually, we made this video in response to comments, so if you have ideas, let us know.